Hi, hello.
Now, Dr. Carl's just racing to get a train. Could you just wish all the Skeptic Zone listeners a happy Christmas?
To all the Skeptic loyalists, I wish you a happy Christmas, even though I always like an excuse for a party.
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Carl.
Thank you.
He's running for a train. I know it's very 20th century of him, but that's what he's doing.
20th century?
Yeah, you should be running for a hovercraft or something.
Where's the hoverboard? That's what I want to know.
Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Hello and welcome to the Skeptic Zone, episode number 218 for the 22nd of December 2012. Richard Saunders here with you from an echo chamber. Well, no, not exactly. It's just a spare room here in Auckland, New Zealand. I'm making a flying visit here to Auckland in beautiful New Zealand on my way to the Bay Area, San Francisco for Christmas. And what's so special about the 22nd of December 2012? Well, it's the date that wasn't supposed to happen. Thank you to all those New Age twits who scared little children. And talking about scaring little children, here's a piece about the end of the world apocalypse or the shift in cosmic thinking or whatever the hell was going on for the 21st of December I recorded a few days ago. Cue the spooky music. Published online on the 19th of December 2012. Thoughts on the 21st of December 2012 by Richard Saunders. So it's almost here, the so-called end of the world, or the beginning of the great change, or shift in spiritual energies, or fill in the blanks. The 21st of December will come and go like any other day. Maybe some newsworthy event will happen, but somewhere around the world, every week of the year, a newsworthy event catches our attention. The 21st of December 2012 is destined to be the answer to a pub trivia night question in 2020. It will be largely forgotten, just like all the other "the planets will align," or "my dreams told me that on this day," or "our great spiritual leader has promised that on this date," or "the ancients knew that on this date," or "this time the world is really coming to an end and we have the proof," or, well, one of the hundreds of other failed prophecies and predictions that frighten little children and, sadly, some adults. What you will hear on the 22nd of December from those who need this date to mean something will be along the lines of, "There was a great change, but you are a closed-minded skeptic and cannot feel it," or "It has started just as we predicted, and over the next so-and-so years the earth will..." We have all seen and heard this many times before. The only sure thing is that before long, another mystical date based on special insights from those who are enlightened will be doing the rounds and frightening little children once again. So there you go. The next time somebody tells you the world's coming to an end based on ancient predictions and ancient prophecies, I want you to think very carefully and tell them this. On this week's show, more on our story covered in last week by Dr. Rachie about the Minister for Fair Trading in New South Wales, Australia, Anthony Roberts, clamping down on the Australian Vaccination Network and telling them, not asking, not requesting, telling them they have to change their name because their name is misleading. I'm going to read the press statement from the Minister, and that's followed by a couple of media reports. We have Tracey Spicer and Tim Webster on Radio 2 UE, and they actually get a phone call from the Minister for Fair Trading. Following that, a clip from the ABC program The Drum, all covering this issue. I think you will really enjoy those clips coming up. And after that, it's Maynard's spooky action at a distance, not a very far distance. It's back to Melbourne, where Maynard will chat to DJ Grothe, president of the James Randi Educational Foundation, Eran Segev, former president of the Australian Skeptics, Dr. Rachie herself, myself, Richard Saunders, current president of there's lots of presidents everywhere, and a very strange woman who was there wearing devil's horns, coming up later in the show. But for now, I'm going to run to the other room where the fridge is. Not the same fridge I normally run to. This is a New Zealand fridge. What do I find in that fridge? I bet I find some Steinlager or some beautiful New Zealand white wine. I'm going to enjoy that while you enjoy the Skeptic Zone. Media release from the Honourable Anthony Roberts MP, Minister for Fair Trading, dated Saturday, 15th of December 2012. Australian Vaccination Network ordered to change its name. Minister for Fair Trading Anthony Roberts today confirmed a formal order has been issued to the Australian Vaccination Network to change its names on the grounds it is misleading the public. Mr. Roberts said Section 11 of the Associations Incorporations Act 2009 provides the Commissioner for Fair Trading may direct an association to adopt a new name where the name of the association is unacceptable. Quote, New South Wales Fair Trading has received complaints that the Australian Vaccination Network's name is confusing and has misled the public as to its operational intention, end quote, Mr. Roberts said. Quote, the Commissioner for Fair Trading, Rod Stowe, has therefore written to the Australian Vaccination Network directing the association to change its name, end quote. The Australian Vaccination Network is required to lodge an application for registration of a new name by the 21st of February 2013. If an application for registration of a change of name is not made on or before that date, Australian Vaccination Network Incorporated's registration may be cancelled. Mr. Roberts said the Australian Vaccination Network's name cannot be tolerated given its stance on vaccination and the potential for parents to be confused or misled. Quote, the Australian Vaccination Network does not present a balanced case for vaccination, does not present medical evidence to back up its claims, and therefore poses a serious risk of misleading the community, end quote, Mr. Roberts said. Quote, the Australian Vaccination Network can therefore find a new name that is more appropriate given its anti-vaccination stance, end quote. Mr. Roberts said the decision to order the change of name was based on concerns raised by parents, medical professionals, and the wider community across New South Wales. Quote, it is clear this association's name is not appropriate given what it stands for, and the O'Farrell-Stoner government is committed to ensuring the community is not misled on a critically important public health issue such as vaccination, end quote, Mr. Roberts said. Quote, we are asking the Australian Vaccination Network to be honest and upfront about what they stand for and to choose a new name reflecting their beliefs, end quote.
I'd like to give a big cheerio to the New South Wales government, Tim, for ordering the Australian Vaccination Network, I don't often do this, to change its name. Now, if you've followed any of my opinion pieces over the last couple of years, I cannot stand this mob. They call themselves the Australian Vaccination Network. They're clearly anti-vaccination based on no facts whatsoever, just based on some cockamamie theories. And, of course, it's led to an increase in whooping cough and various other things for tiny, vulnerable children. Well, good on the Minister for Fair Trading, Anthony Roberts, for issuing a formal order for them to change their name, saying calling themselves the Australian Vaccination Network does not present a balanced case for vaccination, does not present medical evidence to back up its claims, and therefore poses a serious risk of misleading the community.
Yeah.
So their response.
Yes.
Do you want to hear their response?
Predictable, was it? Yes.
This is Meryl Dorey, who, of course, lives in the Byron Bay region.
Mm-hmm.
How about the Cancer Council? Couldn't someone be misled into thinking they're for cancer?
What?
And then she has a go saying it's a conflict of interest because the original complaint about the name, the Australian Vaccination Network, was from the Australian Medical Association, and they're going to be affected in the hip pocket because fewer vaccinations will cost them dollars.
You know what? I had an exchange on Facebook with one of these dipsticks.
Oh, did you? Would have been
absolutely.
Meryl for sure.
It probably was. Cranky exchange. And I pointed out to her, would you like to have polio back? I mean, I remember as a kid at school, and my older listeners would remember this, I think it was called something like Sabin. It was an oral vaccine, little pink vaccine,
yes.
and the health department came to the school and gave you this little spoonful of vaccine. It wasn't a needle, and that was a national program, or certainly statewide in New South Wales. And at the moment, there's an epidemic, an outbreak, a massive outbreak of cholera in Haiti. I don't know if you saw that during the week.
Oh, I didn't.
So,
no.
I mean, do we want all these diseases back, do we?
That's a problem. People have very short memories.
They
We
do.
forget that measles used to kill very
My
much
word.
in first
Mumps,
world countries.
dreadful problem.
So this is what we think about Meryl Dorey. Oh, we've got a call from Anthony Roberts, our New South Wales Fair Trading Minister. How are you going, Minister?
I'm very well, and thank you very much for having me on the program.
Pleasure, mate.
Look,
Tracey's just giving you a big rap.
Well, thank you, Tracey. You've hit it right on the head. Look, what we're asking this organisation to do is to be upfront and honest with people and stop misleading people over an issue that puts young people, their lives, young children, their lives at danger. And for far too long, this organisation has been misleading individuals and getting away with it.
Yeah, look, mate, we've got to rely, surely, on the medical professionals. For some reason, these people seem to think there's some sort of conspiracy going on with vaccinating children. It's just mindless to me. I mean, the medical professionals we've got in this state are the best that I know of, and you just go with them, surely.
Oh, certainly. And these people aren't about pro-choice. These people are about pushing an anti-vaccination line. And you've hit it right on the head with respect, for example, the polio vaccine. You only have to talk to, I'm 42, you talk to my parents, you talk to people a little bit older than me that remembered the times where quite often in your class you would have someone in calipers or people in iron lungs. And here we have is a vaccine that this organisation is totally opposed to.
Minister, is there anything else you can do to actually shut them down?
Well, certainly what we're trying to do here is we're just asking them to be honest and open with people because what they're pushing is voodoo science is causing, we've had deaths, whooping cough outbreaks, but again, when we had a measles outbreak, this organisation pushed it around that, in fact, it was a major conspiracy to push the vaccine.
Well,
so again, to parents out there, if you don't vaccinate your child, you are putting your child at risk. And also, you're putting other people's children at risk.
Yeah.
So again, if you want medical advice, actually talk to a doctor. Don't talk to groups like this, and don't go on the web and get all the sort of the gump and the rubbish. Go and talk to your local doctor, and they'll tell you the importance of vaccinating your child.
Oh, Anthony, it worries the life out of me that people do that. I mean, the internet is a wonderful tool. I love it. We all love it. But it's full of this stuff, and you just got to make sure it's right before you go with it. And a lot of it's not.
Oh, look, and a lot of these nut jobs, and using a technical term, these are people that purport, and there's far too much, you're right, self-diagnosis via Google these days. But the issue here is that these are people that push the strange diets, the breatharians, for example, the sort of people you meet on these websites, that you don't eat or you don't drink. What you do is you surround yourself with positive vibes and breathe natural air in. Look, again, people have just got to show some common sense. And where you have, particularly where these people are strong, you have outbreaks of whooping cough. And you come across those awful stories of people moving into these areas with children that are too young to be vaccinated for whooping cough. Yet, in one case, picking whooping cough up, which is, I've got a little boy who's 3 and one who's 1, and you've just got to see the images of what whooping cough does and of the deaths that occur to really focus you on the fact that these people are not just lying, but these people are putting young people's lives at risk.
Can I just say, Minister, thank you so much for calling in and for speaking so strongly about this issue that a lot of people have been angry about, gosh, forever and a day. Thank you.
Good on
My
you.
pleasure, and thank you very much for your support.
No, thanks for jumping on the phone, mate. One of the great broadcasters of all time, Lawsy, had polio as a child.
Oh, did he?
And he'll tell you, and we, have lunch. A few of us have lunch with Lawsy a few times a year, and he'll tell you, awful stories about that, and how he thought his life was going to be changed forever. He recovered, thankfully, but he had it. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, it's my vintage. We got that vaccine, and I still can't remember what it's called, but it was an oral one, and I remember it pink, a little spoon. We all lined up in the gob, and away you went. So.
Moving on now, and a controversial anti-vaccination group has been ordered to change its name because it's misleading the public. The New South Wales Office of Fair Trading has presented the Australian Vaccination Network with a formal letter of action. It must lodge an application to register a new name by the 21st of February or face cancellation. The Fair Trading Minister, Anthony Roberts, says the AVN doesn't present a balanced case for vaccination, and he's likened the group's message to allowing a speeding motorist to endanger others on the road. Now, Imre, what do you think about this? Is it the right thing to do to make this anti-vaccination organisation change their name so they don't mislead parents?
Oh, I think so. I mean, their message seems to me disastrous, because the child that's not vaccinated ends up infecting the child whose vaccination may be due, or whose vaccination was ineffective or not fully effective. So anything we can do to at least make sure that they are who they claim to be or seem to be, rather than some sort of information group on the issue generally. Good luck to Anthony Roberts, the Minister.
Catherine, the Minister says the information it provides is a matter of life or death. Is it fair enough that consumers know where this organisation is coming from? Because if you look at their website, they say they're just promoting choice. They don't actually admit to being anti-vaccination.
Yeah, what a load of rubbish. No, I'm sorry. I'm not going to stand up for this group's human rights or freedom of expression. Parents should vaccinate their kids. It's a public health necessity. I have no sympathy or it doesn't pull at my heartstrings, Steve, that that they need to disclose to the public what they're on about. I think that's a good thing.
It's interesting if you look at their website, though, they do say that they're victims of their human rights here.
Persecution, yes, I think not. I think people who don't vaccinate their kids are perpetrating a form of persecution, so let's stay on the main game with this one, I think.
Pete, the AVN says forcing them to change their own name is not in the public interest. It's only in the interest of pharmaceutical companies, government policy and mainstream medical organisations.
Look, taking the specific issue of vaccination aside, I don't know about fair trading starting to move into politics. You can just imagine them calling in Labor's not Labor anymore, bringing fair trading. There's no Liberals left in the Liberal Party. Greens approved a dam. So, Fair Work Australia.
Essential media isn't essential.
More jobs, better pay, the legislation as well. But it's interesting, isn't it? The importance of a name and a brand. I don't know where the remit of fair trading goes with this.
Well, it would come down to the fact that this would be
they're raising funds,
a community.
Yeah, they're raising funds, and also I guess it's about misleading the public on public health issues that are a matter of life or death.
You'll recall the last hit out of fair trading in this space was the lobby group that helped to re-elect Craig Thompson on the Central Coast, and they certainly had the power to.
What they call?
Yeah, they had, it wasn't around their name, but it was about where the funds were going. So they do regulate organisations that raise funds. So I'm sure it's within his technical powers. Yeah.
And Catherine, it's interesting that the area of New South Wales where this organisation operates has a low vaccination rate, which below the herd immunity level, which endangers the community to issues like whooping cough as well.
Oh, is that right? I wasn't aware of that. Well, maybe emboldens the case for action then, doesn't it?
On Saturday the 9th of February 2013, why not go to Surfside Summer Skeptic Camp? Come down the glorious Surf Coast for a summer skeptical event hosted by the Great Ocean Road Skeptics. For more information, if you're in that neck of the woods, run to Facebook and search for Surfside Summer Skeptic Camp. Maynard's Malaise, a very Maynard Christmas 2012. Yes, Maynard's got his own show, folks. You know that, I know that. Spread the word. Maynard's Malaise, a very Maynard Christmas 2012. download for your listening pleasure. Visit www.maynard.com.au for Maynard's Malays and more.
Here's Maynard's spooky action at a distance.
Look, I'm talking to a man now just scenically near the men's toilets. He's a man who's a shell of himself.
What are you saying about me,
I'm just saying you're beaten, sad
this
man.
This is not the 70s.
No, it's a very long weekend for someone like you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a long but gratifying weekend, 12-hour days, name of the game at something like this, but it's so paradoxically invigorating. Long hours, but puts wind in your sails, talking to people who have traveled from all over Australia for this event, and people are leaving renewed and sort of energized, thinking about ways they can work together, roll up their sleeves, get good work done for, advancing scientific skepticism in their neck of the woods. It's exciting.
Yeah. Now, DJ, you've got a lot of experience networking at these things. You're very patient with people. Is this something you had to learn to be good at this, or did you, have you naturally been a good networker?
Maybe I'm a good networker. Maybe I'm pretending. Maybe I'm actually an introvert who can't wait to get back to my hotel room and just read a book. No, really, I like these people. These are my people. This is my tribe. We're social primates. We like to be around people in general, but these are the sorts of people that if someone has a good idea, it gets contagious, and it just floods conversation. Everybody starts talking about ways they can improve on it and make it better. The skeptic community is not in need of good ideas, and increasingly, we're no longer in need of good folks to implement them either. And that's what this weekend was all about. The people who won the awards this weekend, they did so because of the great work they're doing. Citizens for, what was that, Friends of Science and Medicine, yes. Right? And the anti-vax activities here. Such great work.
Now, did something come out of this weekend you didn't expect, or something that will be great moving forward, as they like to say?
Well, what I was very excited to hear about is the work in development for online citizen skepticism. And, of course, there were lots of talk about plans and projects in the works regarding digital publishing, and I heard someone talking about his really exciting plans to launch a new podcast on skeptical psychology, or basically pushing back against pseudopsychology. Talked with a woman at the end of the sessions today about children's skeptical books and partnering with the JREF to make these available in the United States and really around the world. When you're talking digital media, they don't have nation-state boundaries. A podcast can be heard by anybody, or the digital publications can be made available for anyone. So I'm excited about that sort of stuff.
Now, it is a long weekend. Do you have to keep your eye on Randy? Because as you say yourself, he'll talk until he drops. Do you have to just drag him away from people every once in a while?
Well, I wouldn't say drag him away, but there's a balancing effort, because he just feeds off the I'm going to sound a little new age here, but the positive energy of these folks who care so much about doing good by being right. That's skepticism. Applying critical rationality to problems, undue credulity, all of that stuff, and we do it to make the world a better place. That turns Randy on, and he will talk and listen about it all day long. A few days ago, he was giving a lecture at a secondary college. That's why I guess the high school, or junior high, that's what you call it here.
In amazing heat.
Yeah, in amazing heat. It was 100 degrees. The AC was off. I, of course, was prudently suggesting, maybe no harm in canceling. It's 100 degrees. There's 300 kids in the seats. They're not going to love sitting for an hour squirming in this heat. He insisted no, the show must go on. He gave his hour lecture. We put a fan on him. He did his escape. He talked about how his background in magic informs his skeptical work. He shared stories about how the youngsters can apply skepticism to make their lives better. And it was a smashing success, despite the sauna heat. That's Randy. And so do I have to keep my eye on him? Well, certainly not. But sometimes do I have to say, oh, it's been a long day. I really can't wait until I hit the sack. And sometimes he might take that hint. Yeah.
Now, look, finally, just on a personal note here, there's been a lot of talk about the controversy surrounding Tam, and that was your denialism of Bananarama, your Bananarama denialism that came out in our interview, and your Elton Johnism, which you blatantly pushed.
Right.
Are you still adamant about that, or are you an apologist?
I have to admit when I'm wrong, and that's a sign of a good skeptic. I have recently become a convert to Bananarama, the details of which I will leave private, because even open, transparent skeptics like myself have to keep what they do with Bananarama to themselves.
Okay, it's great you've set the record straight. And what do you do after a conference like this to wind down?
I am really into comic books, and I have thousands of them on my iPad. So that's always fun. I'll tell you, but I'm sure you won't tell anyone else.
You wouldn't be a cherry Pop-Tart guy, would you? No.
I don't even know what that means, but it sounds vulgar.
It is.
Yeah. Okay. So make mine Marvel Universe comic books. That's fine. And so I'm sure you'll keep it to yourself. But I take baths all the time. Every day I take a bath and I read some comic books, and that's my idea of winding down.
Eating toast in the bath, having a cup of tea. It's fantastic.
Yeah. And when I learned, after 10 years of taking a bath every day, I never take showers unless I'm unfortunate enough to be in a hotel room that doesn't have a bath.
I hate that.
After 10 years of this sort of lifestyle commitment, learning that none other than the guy who's responsible for the world economic collapse, Alan Greenspan, also takes morning baths every day, well, I'm in good company.
Well, DJ Grothe, long may you bathe.
Long may I bathe, yes. Maynard, pleasure to talk to you again. Good seeing you this time.
Look, I'm just going to the Musos corner now, where the mic stand's set up for a bit of music a bit later. And we've got Eran Segev. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Pretty good, and congratulations on making the top 5 good-looking guys in Chrissy's special list of sexy skeptical men yesterday.
Yeah, well, the list comprised Randy at number 5, Lord Monckton at number 4, because he has a head like a goldfish, giant goldfish. I was at number 3. And embarrassingly, Richard Dawkins was at number 2 ahead of me. So yeah, well, Richard Saunders was at number 1, by the way. So behind Richard Dawkins. I'm not so sure about that. I need to have a chat with Chrissy.
Yeah, I think you should have a deep chat with her. You've been to many of these over the years. How does this skeptical conference stack up compared to other ones? Is there any different bent to it, any different makeup, any different feel?
Well, I think it continues with the shift we've seen over several years now of the content being the kind of things that actually appeals more to a younger audience. There's more about the internet, about being very active, about skeptics in the pub, about the kind of things that actually, in my opinion, exemplify what the skeptical movement, the modern skeptical movement is and what it's all about. So I think it's great. We have a great lineup of speakers here. I think so far every single talk was great. The panels were great. I think for me the highlights were Adam van Langenberg yesterday, and Lawrence this morning, both of whom I know and like, and they're funny and inspiring, and they actually do things and get out there and make a difference. So yeah, it's been great so far.
And just for the listeners, many of them might know that you've started a new job, and that's one of the reasons why you had to step down as president. Of course, you were stabbed in the back by lots of people as well. That's another thing. There was blood all over the floor. It was a hell of a time, wasn't it?
Oh, it was fantastic.
But how's the job coming along? How are you balancing the work-life balance at the moment?
Life?
All the work stuff there. Because this guy is a hard worker. You think he worked hard for the Skeptics. Imagine what he does for his family, people.
Well, I'll tell you, I will be arriving home tonight at about 11 p.m. and tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. on a flight to India.
Oh, wow.
So for 2 weeks for work. So it's a challenge, but it's not. It's the right. Different stages in life. There's different things, and this is the right thing at this moment. So it's great.
Now, let me ask you about the Bent Spoon Award that last night went to Homeopathy Plus. Does it ever get acknowledged by the winner in the history that you've been involved with the Bent Spoon Award? Has the winner ever acknowledged getting it?
The only time that I know of was Meryl Dorey 2 years ago. 3 years ago. Meryl Dorey did acknowledge the Bent Spoon. She basically took it as a badge of honor, which is completely understandable. I think if she gave us some kind of quack equivalent award, I think we would probably acknowledge it and take it as a badge of honor.
Can you expect a reaction from Homeopathy Plus?
I don't know. You see, Fran is an odd one. First, by the way, it wasn't Homeopathy Plus. It was Fran herself, Fran Sheffield. Fran is an odd one because she displays she has moments of lucidity among all the craziness. For example, she actually came out against the anti-vaccination, against the IVN for not saying they're against vaccines and all that, which seemed quite reasonable. It's just very odd. I think she might and she might not. I wouldn't be surprised by either, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's an internal kind of thing, and it provides a little bit of publicity, and the press likes it. And when people write about us in the general press, I think they refer to the Ben Spoon. So I think it's a bit of a laugh.
Now, what do you find the strangest claim you've heard from homeopathy?
A few weeks ago, there was one about homeopathy for domestic violence. I think that's the weirdest one.
So was it simply a calming medicine or something? No, how does it work?
It was quite specific. It was quite specific. It's homeopathy can treat domestic violence. There was a whole explanation there, but I don't think there's any need to go into it because, frankly, not saying anything would be just as beneficial.
Okay, well, I'll let you get back in there to get down there. Is there somebody you've met this weekend that you've enjoyed meeting you haven't bumped into before?
No, I think, look, I've known a lot of, I've been quite active.
You've been around the traps.
I've been around the traps. So, but it's it's always great to meet the same people again. I haven't met Lynn Kelly in a few years, and Lynn Kelly's been very influential for me. She's helped me with some personal stuff because she's an educator and teacher, and so things with my kids. So it was good to meet her again see her again after quite a while. But otherwise, I think I know most of the people that I've met here today. But it's great to meet old friends again. It's always a fantastic thing to do. The same thing as when we go to TAM in Vegas, it's more of the social event than it is the talks and all that.
Yeah, it's like hanging with the like-minded people. And I just wish you all the best with the business and the work, because I'm sure all the listeners are wondering where you've got to, and we all wish you the best as well.
Thank you very much, Maynard.
They're rushing and flushing and hushing just a little bit here at lunchtime here on day two of the test of the skeptics versus the boredom. Dr. Rachie, what have you been up to here on this Sunday?
Well, I'm about to give my talk, actually, Maynard.
Now, what are you talking about? Well, what's your topic? I'm smarter than you, so just get under the house. I believe that's the title of it.
Something like that, yeah. No, it's going to be about skepticism in science and applying the skeptical approach to scientific method, and do scientists ever go too far with that and therefore miss maybe some important findings that could lead to some discoveries?
Does that often happen when they attempt meta-analysis of a number of different experiments? Like I've told that I've been, what was the one? I'm trying to think. If you do a number of different, if you observe a number of different experiments, then just take the metadata and stick it all together, you can make mistakes. A meta-analysis.
No, because the meta-analysis is just really the next stage in analysis of a bunch of results. So
what happens is I've read the first 2 chapters of Bad Pharma and I haven't read the rest. So I only know the first bit of the argument.
Well, I haven't read Bad Pharma at all, so maybe we should have this discussion when we've both read the book.
Yeah, well, yeah. I thought if I'd read the first 2 chapters, that was all you had to do, really.
Well, I mean, people do criticise, people that don't like the results of meta-analyses will criticise the meta-analyses because they'll say the data that proved their thinking or belief wasn't included in the meta-analyses. Now, usually there's a reason for that, Maynard, and it's a scientific reason, and that would be because that study wasn't done very well. Some controls were missing, or it just wasn't very thoroughly conducted, so therefore it's excluded from the final analysis because it was basically shoddy. And if you happen to believe in those shoddy results, then you'll criticise meta-analyses and go, oh, they're all biased.
I believe there was a shoddy study recently done on aspartame that had to be withdrawn.
Oh, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, I heard about it on Skeptic's Guide to the Universe. They put out a preliminary study that seemed to indicate that there was a slightly elevated risk of some sort of cancer with aspartame, but then a week later they withdrew it because the analysis was incorrect based on the data that was a little bit wasn't good.
Really, yeah. I mean, this is the thing about science as well.
Which makes you wonder why they put out that thing in the first place. The marketing department must have gone, hey, let's put this out.
The marketing department?
The marketing department for the survey.
Oh, it was a survey.
No. So the marketing department for the particular uni or whatever it was that did the experiment must have thought, we need a catchy thing to get people's attention. So it probably went down to the bottom of the experiment somewhere and grabbed something that wasn't relevant.
Well, look, I mean, that can also be... There's many, many steps along the scientific process where results can be misinterpreted, and one of those is scientists never ever say 100% yes or no. We can't do that because by nature of statistical analysis, we can only ever say we're at 95% right. There's always an error for plus or minus 5%. So we're always very cautious and we'll say there might be an effect. But then some people will pick that up and go, but the scientist said it's going to kill me. So this Chinese whispers tends to happen where we've said, there might be a connection, but we're not really sure how, and we need to do more research and we're not sure why yet, but it could be this, maybe it's that. That gets snapped up by a PR department who go, we're all going to die.
Is that the kind of thing you're going to be talking about on stage today?
No.
Now, Richard, I haven't bumped into you because you've been in the back room doing those special deals the skeptics do at this kind of thing. Making enemies. It's like being voted off the island skeptically, being at one of these things, isn't it? Really, it's like an episode of Survivor.
I can't tell you about these things, Maynard. It's secret. It's secret.
I've been up to the so-called green room 3 times. There's nobody in there.
It's full now. There's a lunch up there with James Randi and DJ Grothe and lots of people. So don't go up there now. You'll be kicked out.
Okay. Well, that's the usually thing. Now, I spoke to Rebecca Watson earlier about some wonderful things, including thunder shirts for dogs and cats, which is the shirts that they wear to make them stop getting anxious during thunderstorms, and the bisexuality of James Bond. So we've got some great stuff for the show.
What?
When you talk to Rebecca Watson, you talk pure science, and that's what I was talking, pure science.
Pure science, Maynard, pure science. Sounds interesting. That sounds very interesting. And how's your convention been?
Oh, look, pretty good. It's like everything now, as you know, I did about 90 interviews when I was at TAM in Las Vegas. Here in Melbourne, I think we've done about 50, which sounds about right. And it's interesting that Australians aren't as open to talking as the Americans. In fact, I don't think that's a problem. I think it's the Americans who have the problem with oversharing.
Well, that's one way of looking at it. Oversharing is very nice.
Yes.
I don't know. Try to get a couple of bottles of vodka into the Maynard and I'll talk to anybody. There you go.
Look, we're here at a Skeptics convention. I'm talking to someone now who's wearing devil horns. So why are you coming along as a character that most people here don't even believe in anyway?
Well, I just want anybody, any detractors to know that I don't fear hell, so bring it on, bro.
Right. So basically your devil horns are saying, keep away from me, the hormones are running in the bad way.
Yeah,
Right. And what have you seen here at this conference that you enjoy?
Oh, everybody. I mean, the lecturers have been so great, and the amazing Randy, a big hero of mine.
Did you do any tricks for you? Did you do some tricks?
Oh, yeah, he did a great trick with a levitating matchbox.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I was absolutely mystified. And when he explained it, I was so embarrassed because, I consider myself a little bit of an amateur magician. But, yeah, he's the master.
Now, are you going to try it when you go home? Because it just involves the folds of the skin, doesn't it? But the way it's amazing, isn't it?
Oh, it's absolutely incredible. Yeah, I'm gonna try it on my housemate, who unfortunately believes all the woo-woo. So maybe I convince her that I actually have telekinetic powers now.
So when do you have the great discussions with your flatmate? Is it in the morning over the kitchen table, or is it while you're watching late night TV, the arguments break out?
Oh, it's any time. She's like, well, I went to a tarot reader today, and it was incredible. How did she know that I must own my own business? I'm like, yeah, did you go on a weekday in the middle of the day and you had enough money to pay her? I mean, you can probably deduct those things. She's like, oh yeah, but there are other things, that she just couldn't possibly have known.
Right, so you've got conflict at home. What about in the workplace? Do you work somewhere where occasionally a co-worker will come in going, wow, my stars are just so right today?
Oh, yeah, sometimes I hear in the kitchen a bit of talk of, I went to the best psychic on the weekend, you should go see them as well. And I just have to bite my tongue, office politics.
Oh, yes, you usually do. Now, what is the woo that gets you the most? What is the one that annoys you the most?
Oh, absolutely. Anything that's going to harm children, especially in the medical area, like chiropractics for children, homeopathy for children, not vaccinating them. It just drives me up the wall that poor, complete innocence are being hurt by their stupid parents who just don't ever question, like, wow, I wonder why people these days that can live till 90 and yet 100 years ago when they already had all these herbal medicines, they only lived till 30.
And let's look at it from the other angle here. What extraordinary claim do you wish was real? I mean, of all the extraordinary claims you hear from your flatmate, from the people at work, what's one that you would kind of like? You go, hey, hang on, flying saucers, that would be so cool. And look, I think extraterrestrials are out there. I believe in UFOs. I'm probably the only skeptic here that does. That's my one. What's yours?
Mermaids.
Oh, wow. Now,
Mermaids
why
are
is that? Is that something from childhood? A movie?
Yeah, I was kind of obsessed with that movie, The Little Mermaid, when I was a kid, and I just wanted to be able to, like, find out one day that I'm secretly half mermaid. If I get in the water, I can just swim away from all the stupid people.
Now, wouldn't that be inconvenient? But you put your best bathing suit, you go down to St Kilda Pier, you jump in, and then suddenly, no legs anymore, I'm fins.
Yeah, that would be a little bit embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, when you think of the Tom Hanks movie, it wasn't all that convenient.
No. But, you know, on the upside, I won't have to swim in the slow lane at the pool anymore.
That's true. Now, of course, we've got Rebecca Watson here. You're a bit of a fan of her?
Oh, definitely. A huge, huge fan.
Yeah, and now the word feisty is always mentioned in the same sentence as Rebecca Watson. What is it about her you like?
I'm just so glad that, you know, she's on a big podcast like the SGU where, you know, all the other panelists and even the guests are usually men. It's just good to have that woman's perspective, because I think sometimes, you know, even the most enlightened men, they're not very closely following issues, especially skeptical issues that are going to affect women. So it's good that she can bring it back to that when other people may not have noticed.
Now, are you a fan of the Godless Bitches podcast by the atheist community of Texas, Austin, Texas?
Oh, I haven't heard of that one. I'll have to look it up.
It's not a bad one. And look, actually, can you recommend a website or a podcast and a book for us to go? Because I've been asking people about that.
Okay. I don't know if I can recommend anything that no one would have heard of so far. But if you want a good read, I'm reading God, No, and Other Signs You May Be an Atheist by Penn Jillette. I think that's quite an interesting book, and even though I don't agree with all his opinions, I think it's
Let me guess, you have a problem with the libertarianism, do you?
Yes, yeah. I don't know if that's just an Australian thing, but
I think because we've got a bit of a socialised medicine thing here, we understand that a safety net's a good idea, where libertarians are not so big on the larger safety net.
No. So I may disagree with him on that, but it's at least good to know another perspective and how other skeptics around the world think and atheists think.
All right, well, I'm going to get well away from your devil horns now. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
In a world where the truth is a matter of opinion, where messages are received from beyond the grave, and reason is sidelined for magical thinking, only three men stand between the truth and a postmodernist abyss.
What date is it? 7th, 8th? 7th, 8th?
This is impressive.
Are these artist impressions?
They're not. They're photographs of Chinese lanterns.
It's not.
We are not well researched.
Yeah, because
good God, we're full
we
of
don't discuss cryptozoology on this show very often because we don't know anything about it.
That's true. That is true. The price gets lower and lower and lower, and then he hits a ceiling.
It's a ceiling from the room below.
Skeptics with a K from the Merseyside Skeptic Society. Find us on iTunes, or don't.
Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone, and I'm so glad the world didn't come to an end a few days ago. I wonder when the next end of the world prediction will be, or what that mystical date will be. I'm sure we'll find out soon enough. But for now, from beautiful Auckland, what a beautiful city it is, New Zealand, land of the hobbits. Land of the hobbits. I tell you what, when I flew here on Air New Zealand, the safety video was all done by hobbits. When I got off at the airport, hobbits everywhere. But that's okay. Can't wait to see the movie. But for now, this is Richard Saunders signing off from Auckland, New Zealand.
You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for comments, contacts, and extra video reports.